super excited. My buddy here, Hunter Andrews, that's Colt's brother. He was a former student. He came last year. Most of you probably remember him from last year. So he's going to kick things off the right way. I'm glad all of you were able to make it. Y'all probably woke up a little bit earlier than you wanted to, which is fine, and I'm very grateful for it. So before we get started, we'll do this with a prayer request before we get started. Does anybody have anything that they want me to pray for?
Good morning, everybody. How are you today? Good. So, as Coach Weaver said, my name is Hunter Enders. I go to Gadsden City High School, and it seems like forever ago, I was one of you guys here at Eura Brown FCA. And one of the lessons that stuck with me is someone spoke about choices, like the decisions you make in everyday life and what impact they can have on your life and on the lives of others. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about that, the decision making that we have each day, and someone in the Bible who made some difficult choices and what God did for them. So I noticed one of the big choices today was milk or orange juice, or to take a donut or to not take a donut. And that just might be one thing that impacts you, but there are some choices we can make that impact other people, like who do we invite to sit with at lunch? If someone's alone, are we going to go talk to them? Stuff like that, we can affect others by what decisions we make. So the person I chose today to talk about their decisions was Daniel. And the book of Daniel is a really great book. There are a lot of different events that happen. And Daniel always makes the right choice that he's going to follow God. And a bad situation turned into all kinds of good situations. So I'm going to read from Daniel chapter 1, verses 8 through 17. Daniel did not want to eat the king's rich food and wine because it would make him unclean. So he asked Ashpenaz for permission not to make himself unclean in this way. God caused Ashpenaz, the man in charge of the officials, to be kind and loyal to Daniel. But Ashpenaz told Daniel, "I'm afraid of my master the king. He ordered me to give you this food and drink. If you don't eat this food, you'll begin to look weak and sick. You'll look worse than other young men your age. The king will see this, and he'll become angry with me. He might cut off my head, and it would be your fault." Then Daniel talked to the guard who had been put in charge of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah by Ashpenaz. He said, "Please give us this test for 10 days. Don't give us anything but vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then after 10 days, compare us with the other young men who eat the king's food. See for yourself who looks healthier, and then decide how you want to treat us, your servants." So the guard agreed to test Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah for 10 days. After 10 days, Daniel and his friends looked healthier than all of the young men who ate the king's food. So the guard continued to take away the king's special food and wine, and to give only vegetables to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. God gave these 4 young men the wisdom and ability to learn many different kinds of writing and science. Daniel could also understand all kinds of visions and dreams. And so this story, Daniel and his friends, the other 3 boys, they lived in a place called Judea, or Judah, and they were taken away by this large empire. And they're basically going to be servants to the king of this empire. And they were chosen because they were smarter, they were more athletic than other people. So they were chosen, and they're going to be given special food and drink. The only problem is that food and drink when it gets the law of God. God said, you can't eat this, you can't drink this, it'll make you unclean, it'd be sinning. And Daniel, he loved God, and he said, I don't want to do that because I know it's wrong. So he made the decision that he was going to be bold, and he was going to say, hey, I can't have this, it's wrong. And he asked for permission. And although one of the officials was scared, the guard agreed to the test. And based on the nutrition of this food, the meat that the king gave was supposed to make them strong. Vegetables, just having vegetables alone isn't supposed to make you strong. However, they looked better than all the other young men who ate the king's meat because they chose to follow what God did. God worked a miracle in their lives that they would be more physically fit, more healthy, and their bodies would be in better condition. But also it says they had more understanding in writing and science. And later on in the book of Daniel, we see the king has a dream. He doesn't understand it. And Daniel through a gift God had given him, was able to interpret this dream. And because Daniel interpreted the dream, he got a special place in the position in the kingdom. And that was all because he made that decision. He was going to trust God. So God gave him this gift, and then he uses the gift. So he gets put in this position. So then we see what happens when this position puts him in a bad place. So King Darius gave the order. They brought... That's wrong. This is from Daniel chapter 6. Darius thought it would be a good idea to choose 120 satraps to rule throughout his kingdom. He chose 3 men to rule over the 120 satraps. Daniel was one of the 3 supervisors. The king put these men in this position to keep anyone from cheating him. Daniel proved himself to be a better supervisor than any of the others. He did this by his good character and great ability. The king was so impressed with Daniel that he planned to make him ruler over the whole kingdom. Just think about that. This boy who was meant just to be some normal servant to the king, because of the good decisions he'd made, the plan was to put him over everyone else in the kingdom, second to the king only. But when the other supervisors and the satraps heard about this, they were very jealous. They tried to find reasons to accuse Daniel, so they watched what Daniel did as he went about doing the business of the government. But they could not find anything wrong with him, so they could not accuse him of doing anything wrong. Daniel was a man people could trust. He did not cheat the king, and he worked very hard. Finally, they said, "We will never find any reason to accuse Daniel of doing something wrong, so we must find something to complain about that is connected to the law of his God." So Daniel, because of his good character, the people who were opposed to him, they had to lie. They had to come up with something that wasn't true just so they could do something about Daniel, because they were jealous of him. And Daniel did nothing wrong. He just trusted God. So the 2 supervisors and the satraps went as a group to the king. They said, "King Darius, live forever. The supervisors, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed on something. We think that the king should make this law and that everyone must obey it. For the next 30 days, whoever prays to any god or man except you, king, will be thrown into the lion's den. Now, king, make the law and sign the paper it is written on so that it cannot be changed, because the laws of the Medes and Persians cannot be canceled or changed." So King Darius made the law and signed it. Daniel always prayed to God 3 times every day. 3 times every day, he bowed down on his knees to pray and praise God. Even though Daniel heard about the new law, he still went to his house to pray. He went up to the upper room of his house, and he opened the windows that faced toward Jerusalem. Then Daniel bowed down on his knees and prayed, just as he always had done. So even though there's this law, and Daniel knows about this law, that you can't pray, you can't worship anyone except for the king himself, Daniel says, "My only king is God." And he goes to his house. He continues to pray on a regular basis, just as he always does. Then the supervisors and satraps went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So here, they know they've got him this time. They go up, they see him praying, they say, "Yes, we got something, we can throw him. We can tell the king." And so they go and they tell the king, and they say, "We saw someone breaking your law." And the king, he's like, "Who is it?" And they say, "It's Daniel." So King Darius gave the order. They brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, "May the God you serve save you." A big rock was brought and put over the opening of the lion's den. Then the king used his ring and put a seal on the rock. He also used the rings of his officials and put their seals on the rock. This showed that no one could move that rock and bring Daniel out of the lion's den. And then later on, in verse 20, he was very worried. When he got to the lion's den, he called to Daniel. He said, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God been able to save you from the lions? You always serve your God." Daniel answered, "King, live forever. My God sent his angel to save me. The angel closed the lions' mouths. The lions have not hurt me because my God knows I am innocent. I never did anything wrong to you, king." King Darius was very happy. He told his servants to lift Daniel out of the lion's den. And when Daniel was lifted out of the den, they did not find any injury on his body. The lions did not hurt Daniel because he trusted in his God. So the moral of the story here is that we need to do what's right and we need to trust God. And sometimes, I know personally, everybody has hardships and it can be difficult sometimes to make good choices. And it's always right to trust in God. And if you have a hard time, if there's something you worry about and you don't know what choice to make, then just go in prayer. You can ask him. I know when I was going into high school, I had to pick some classes I wanted to choose, and I didn't know which one I would fit in. Would I make friends here? Would I succeed? Would I learn here? I had all this stuff going together, and I couldn't decide on my own. But I went to God and I prayed, and you can pray to God about anything, big or small. So just remember, if you have any choices to make, always make the right choice, and if you're unsure, just pray about it and talk to God, and He'll give you the answer. And thank you for your attention, and thank you, Coach Weaver, for having me.
Thank you, I appreciate it. All right, just to add on, a little bit, my quiet time this morning, every day I tried to do a quiet time. My quiet time was criticism, okay, being criticized about, as Hunter said, you know, the king told his friends just to eat meat and no vegetables, or, you know, so they could be strong and stuff. So if somebody tells you to do something that you know is wrong, or somebody's trying to criticize you how you're living for God, whether you're praying at lunch, you know, some people pray at lunch, they bow their heads and pray. I encourage you to do that. Maybe somebody kids might laugh at you or snicker at you, but I just want to share that with you, just to stay encouraged in your walk with God and your faith in God. And I encourage you, Hunter, as your sophomore year, a lot of new adventures for you. Classes might be a little bit harder, but stick to it, man. I know you'll do awesome and amazing things this semester. So before we dismiss, I'm going to go ahead and pray. We got about 1 minute, so after I pray, then make sure you throw away your stuff and you can sit down and socialize for about a minute or two, okay? So everybody close your eyes for me, please. God, thank you for thank you for Daniel and the book, God, how we can learn so much, God, about just trusting in you, God, just like Daniel did. And even though the king and everybody else wanted to see him fail in life, God, he got thrown in the lion's den, God, and you were able to rescue him, God. And it doesn't matter what circumstances these kids go through, God, or what I go through, or what anybody goes through, God, that believes in you, that you can always save us and rescue us, God, through anything, God. Just like Rosalind with her cancer, God, I know you'll bring healing and comfort to her family, God, and to her. And for her being a believer, God, she knows that ultimately, God, when she passes away, whether it's at an early age or an older age, God, that she will be in heaven rejoicing with you, God. And we're just so thankful for that, God. I just encourage the kids to go throughout the day, God, just to listen to you and trust in you, and to read your word, God, and just be with us as we get into this school year, God, and just pray protection over all these students in this school and all the Gadsden City schools, God. I just give you all the glory,